The Raiders made it to the playoffs for the first time in 12 years, but were they really that good? The Raiders started off their season pretty hot, winning their first game of the season on a missed field goal by the Saints kicker, who I don't remember his name, but doesn't matter. He missed the field goal anyway. Um, they won that first game of the season and went on to have a pretty decent season the rest of the way. But were they really that good? Um, they became a playoff team this year after adding a couple key free agents like Kelechi Osemele, Sean Smith, and Bruce Irving, among others. They they were able to basically beat decent teams, not really, because they beat a bunch of teams that were around. They were decent, not they weren't really that good. Let's just say they lost against a lot of good teams. They lost against the Chiefs, the Falcons, among others. Well, they lost against the Chiefs twice. Among other teams, they barely beat the Texans in Mexico. Um, but were they really that good? No, I'm making my point proven right now. They weren't really that good. They were destined to make a deep run in the playoffs, but then something happened. Something happened. Hey, Derek Carr, you want to help me out with this one? It broke. It broke. It broke. Oh, that's right. Week 16, Derek Carr's leg breaks, or foot, whatever it was. It broke, and you could say so did the Raiders' playoffs hopes. Now, some Raider fans and some people thought that the Raiders would be fine with Matt McGloin, but then he got hurt, and they had to go with Connor Cook, and then in the wild card round, they lost to the Texans. Were they really that good? No. I mean, their strength of schedule was all right. Before the season started, they had the 15th rank. They were tied for 15th in strength of schedule, but they weren't really that good. They didn't beat a lot of good teams, um, in my opinion, and they couldn't, and they barely beat some certain teams like the Texans. Um, which makes me think, were they really that good? I don't think so. And for all the free agent moves that they made, they didn't really pay off. The defense was not as good as it probably should have been. Going into that thing, I think the defense should have been one of its strengths, but you could say it was one of his weaknesses. And you saw it week 1 when they played the Texans. The Texans, the Saints, they struggled. They gave up 31 points. That's a lot for a defense. You could say, well, I mean, maybe they didn't mesh well right away, but they gave up a lot of points overall. Now, there were times where they looked decent, but they didn't seem to me like they were that good of a defense. And the one time the line really, and then they also put money into the offensive line, and the one time the offensive line needed to step up, and protect their quarterback, they don't, and he goes down with injury, and they miss the playoffs. Which makes me think the Raiders were not that good. And Derek Carr was having an MVP type season, and it is so when he went down, you could say, well, look, that proves he was very valuable to his team. As soon as he goes down, he gets hurt, which makes sense when you are having an MVP like season. But they had a good offensive line with decent weapons, and they invested a lot of money into that defense for that team not to be able to carry a quarterback. Yet they couldn't. Well, Matt McGloin got hurt. I mean, I don't think they expected that to happen. And so, but you think they'd be able to carry Connor Cook a little bit? No, they couldn't do that. In the game against the Texans, they decided not to start Matt McGloin for some reason, considering he was active for that game. And it's the playoffs. You should start your quarterback for that game no matter what. Who cares if he's not 100%? Might as well start him if you're going to make him active. They went with Connor Cook, and let's just say it didn't end well. They played terrible. Probably, I mean, I didn't even finish watching the whole playoff game. It was just so bad. But, I mean, that's basically why I think the Raiders were not that good. They didn't have that hard of a schedule, and they didn't beat the teams that they should have beaten, and their key free agents didn't come to fruition. They didn't do what they needed to do. Now, if you have some sort of counter argument to what I'm saying, feel free to say it down in the comment section below. The last video I made talking about the Cowboys, some people decided to speak up, which I appreciate. If you have any type of counter argument, feel free to speak your mind. And if you have any suggestions for any teams that I should, you could say, I don't want to say expose, but kind of analyze how their season went and if they were really that good, once again, feel free to speak about it in the comments section below. The Raiders were not that good.